I am Rachel Mitchell, 34 years old, and the youngest FBI director in American history. My brother Kevin and I grew up in the same house, but ended up on very different paths in law enforcement. That night, racing down Route 16 toward a critical hostage situation involving Senator Campbell's daughter, I never expected to see flashing lights in my rearview mirror. I certainly never imagined my own brother would pull a gun on me while I was trying to save a life. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment about where you are watching from. And hit that subscribe button if you have ever been misunderstood by family. Trust me, what happened next changed everything. Growing up in Boston, my brother Kevin and I were raised in a household where law enforcement was practically a religion. Our father, Richard Mitchell, served as police chief for 20 years, and our mother, Elizabeth, worked as a district attorney. Dinner conversations revolved around cases, criminals, and the justice system. There was never any question about what career path we would take. The only question was which branch of law enforcement would claim us. Kevin is 5 years older than me, and as kids, that age gap felt like a canyon. He was always the protector, the one who taught me how to ride a bike, how to throw a punch, and how to spot a liar. I idolized him despite his struggles in school, while academics came naturally to me. Kevin fought for every B and C he earned. Not everyone needs straight A's to make a difference, Rach, my father would say, ruffling Kevin's hair. Some of the best cops I know barely passed high school. Still, I saw the flash of hurt in Kevin's eyes whenever my report cards went up on the refrigerator while his stayed tucked away in his desk drawer. By 18, Kevin had followed in our father's footsteps, joining the police academy straight out of high school. Dad beamed with pride at his graduation, clapping Kevin on the back and presenting him with grandfather's service revolver. Mitchell men have always been cops, Dad said. And damn good ones. I was 13 then, already mapping out a different path. Law enforcement, yes, but not walking a beat. I wanted more. Harvard acceptance came at 17, followed by Harvard Law at 21. While Kevin patrolled the streets of our hometown, I interned at the Justice Department. The first real fracture between us came when I was recruited by the FBI at 25. Kevin had been on the force for 7 years by then, still working the same beat. His promotion to detective delayed twice. The FBI? Kevin scoffed when I announced the news at Sunday dinner. Pretty fancy. Guess walking a beat is beneath the family genius. Kevin, Mom warned. No, it is fine, I said, trying to keep the peace. The FBI just fits my skill set better. Your skill set? Kevin repeated, stabbing at his pot roast. Right. Dad tried to smooth things over. We are proud of both our kids. Different paths, same goal, right? But the die was cast. As my career accelerated, Kevin seemed to stall. I moved through the ranks at the bureau while Kevin finally made detective after 9 years. Each of my promotions widened the gulf between us. Deputy Assistant Director at 30. Assistant Director at 32. And then, the bombshell, Director of the FBI at 34, the youngest in history. The night I shared that news at my parents' house was the last time I had spoken to Kevin until that fateful night on Route 16. Director, Kevin had said, his voice flat. You're kidding. The president called me personally, I said, unable to hide my pride. Of course he did, Kevin muttered. The golden child gets another gold star. Dad raised his glass. To Rachel. Always knew you would do something extraordinary. That was when Kevin threw his napkin down and stood up. Always knew she would, but never thought I would? Is that it, Dad? Son, that is not what I meant. But Kevin was already heading for the door. Congrats, sis. Hope running the whole damn FBI makes you happy. 6 months passed without a word between us. I sent Christmas and birthday cards that received no response. Mom kept me updated on Kevin's life. Still a detective, recently divorced from his wife of 3 years, working too much. And that brings me to the night in question. Senator Campbell's 20-year-old daughter, Abigail, had been kidnapped by a group with a political vendetta against her father. My team had tracked them to an abandoned farm in rural Massachusetts, but our intelligence indicated a 4-hour window before they would move her or worse. I was heading to the staging area when I entered Kevin's jurisdiction purely by coincidence. The mission was classified at the highest level. Few outside my immediate team knew about it. Media blackout, need to know basis only. Every minute mattered if we were going to bring Abigail home alive. So when I saw those flashing lights in my rearview mirror, I nearly ignored them. But years of law enforcement training kicked in, and I pulled over, expecting to flash my credentials and be on my way within 30 seconds. I had no idea I was about to come face to face with my brother for the first time in 6 months. I had no idea he would point his service weapon at my face. And I certainly had no idea how this encounter would change both our lives forever. I guided my unmarked black Suburban to the shoulder of Route 16, gravel crunching under the tires. The road was deserted at this hour, just after midnight, with nothing but dense forest on either side. My headlights illuminated the mist rising from the asphalt, creating an almost supernatural glow. In my rearview mirror, the red and blue lights pulsed hypnotically. 3 minutes, I muttered to myself, checking my watch. That was all I could spare before getting back on track to save Abigail Campbell. I watched as the officer emerged from the patrol car, flashlight in hand. Standard procedure. I had my FBI credentials ready on the dashboard, prepared for a quick exchange. As the beam of light swept through my rear window, I rolled down the driver's side window, fixing a pleasant but authoritative expression on my face. The flashlight beam hit my face directly, momentarily blinding me. License and registration, came the voice, and my blood froze. I knew that voice. Had known it my entire life. As the light lowered, I found myself staring into the face of my brother Kevin. He had not recognized the vehicle, but now recognition dawned in his eyes, followed immediately by something harder to define. Surprise? Anger? Both? Rachel, he said, his professional demeanor slipping momentarily. Kevin. I replied, keeping my voice steady. I am in the middle of an emergency situation. I need to get back on the road immediately. Instead of stepping back, Kevin's posture stiffened. You were doing 88 in a 55. Emergency or not, that is dangerous driving. I am aware of my speed. I am the director of the FBI en route to a critical situation involving national security. I do not have time for this. Kevin's jaw tightened. The mention of my title seemed to flip a switch inside him. The director of the FBI still has to obey traffic laws. License and registration, please. I took a deep breath. Kevin. I am invoking federal emergency protocol here. There is a life at stake. Every minute counts. License and registration, he repeated. His face now a mask of professional detachment that I recognized all too well from our father. Realizing this was not going to be the quick interaction I had hoped for, I reached for my credentials. Here is my FBI identification. I am requesting professional courtesy as a fellow law enforcement officer. I need to be at my destination in less than 30 minutes. Kevin took the credentials, studying them with exaggerated care. You think this badge makes you special, Rachel? Makes you above the law? The words stung more than they should have. This is not about being special. This is about a time-sensitive operation that I need to oversee personally. Step out of the vehicle, please. Kevin, this is ridiculous. You know who I am. Step out of the vehicle now. He repeated, and this time his hand moved to rest on his holstered weapon. I felt a surge of anger but kept my voice level. I am going to reach for my phone to call my team. They can verify the urgency of the situation. Hands where I can see them. Kevin barked, and to my shock, he drew his weapon, pointing it directly at me. For a moment, I could not process what was happening. My own brother, pointing a gun at my face. Over a speeding ticket. Kevin, put the gun down. This is not protocol for a traffic stop, and you know it. Exit the vehicle with your hands visible, he said, his voice cold and professional, as if I were a dangerous suspect rather than his sister. Recognizing the dangerous territory we were in, I complied, slowly opening the door and stepping out with my hands raised. This is a massive overreaction, and you know it. I am unarmed and identifying myself as a federal agent. Turn around and place your hands on the vehicle. Kevin, listen to me. Senator Campbell's daughter has been kidnapped. We have reliable intelligence that she will be moved or killed in the next few hours. I need to get to the staging area now. For a moment, I thought I saw hesitation in his eyes. Then it vanished, replaced by that hard look I had seen at our last family dinner. Sounds like a convenient story. Turn around. I turned, placing my hands on the hood of my SUV. You are making a huge mistake. I felt the cold metal of handcuffs snap around my wrists, and disbelief washed over me. This could not be happening. Not with Abigail Campbell's life in the balance. Kevin. Think about what you are doing, I said, my voice low and urgent. This is not about us or our issues. This is about a 20-year-old girl whose life depends on my team getting to her in time. You always did think you were better than everyone else, Kevin said, his voice so quiet I almost missed it. Always the star, always the special one. In that moment, I realized this had nothing to do with traffic laws or proper procedure. This was years of resentment boiling over at the worst possible moment. This is not the time or place for a family therapy session, I said through gritted teeth. A girl's life is at stake. National security is at stake. National security. Kevin repeated with a humorless laugh. Right. He turned me around, and for the first time in 6 months, we faced each other directly. My brother's face was harder than I remembered. New lines around his eyes, a gray streak at his temple that had not been there before. I am going to search your vehicle now, he said, professional mask back in place. You need a warrant for that, I said automatically. Not when I have probable cause. You claim to be on an emergency mission involving a kidnapping. That implies weapons. Possibly explosive material. I need to verify that. Kevin, this is insane. You know who I am. I know who you say you are, he corrected. For all I know, you stole that ID and vehicle. The Rachel Mitchell I know would not be driving recklessly through my jurisdiction without so much as a courtesy call. The situation was spiraling beyond my control. I needed to get word to my team, to let them know I had been delayed. I need to make a call. My team is expecting me. You can make all the calls you want once we get to the station, Kevin said, guiding me toward his patrol car. The station? Kevin, there is no time for this. Call my office if you do not believe me. Call the Attorney General. Call the White House, for God's sake. But Kevin was not listening. He secured me in the back of his patrol car like a common criminal, then returned to search my government vehicle. I watched through the window as he rifled through my briefcase, finding the classified documents inside, the secure satellite phone, my service weapon. Each minute that passed was another minute Abigail Campbell might not have. I closed my eyes, trying to control my racing thoughts. This was a nightmare of the highest order, professional and personal worlds colliding in the worst possible way. I heard Kevin radio for backup, describing a suspicious federal vehicle and requesting assistance. The situation was escalating from ridiculous to dangerous. If local police swarmed the area, it could compromise not just my timeline, but potentially the entire operation. All because my brother could not see past our family drama long enough to do his job properly. The next 20 minutes were among the most excruciating of my life. Handcuffed in the back of Kevin's patrol car, I watched as he meticulously cataloged the contents of my vehicle, examining each item with exaggerated care. The classified documents were spread across the hood of my Suburban, my service weapon bagged as if it were evidence in a crime. Those documents are classified, Kevin, I called through the closed window. You do not have clearance to read them. He ignored me, continuing his search. 2 more patrol cars arrived, Officers approaching with hands near their weapons, clearly responding to Kevin's call about a suspicious federal agent. I recognized one of them, Officer Mendez, who had attended the police academy with Kevin. "Mitchell, what have you got?" Mendez asked, eyeing me curiously through the window. "Suspicious individual claiming to be FBI Director Rachel Mitchell," Kevin replied, as if I were some random imposter rather than his own sister. "Driving erratically. Carrying classified documents and weapons." "That is the director," Mendez said, recognition dawning on his face. "I saw her on CNN last month." Kevin shrugged. "Says she is on some emergency mission. Convenient excuse for doing 90 on Route 16. I leaned forward, pressing my face to the window. "Officer Mendez, this is a matter of national security. I need to reach my team immediately." Mendez looked uncertainly between Kevin and me. "Maybe we should call this in, Kev. If she is really the director, go ahead and call it in," Kevin said dismissively. "Meanwhile, I will continue processing this scene by the book." Another patrol car arrived, bringing the total to 4. The lights from all the vehicles created a disorienting strobe effect in the darkness of the rural road. My thoughts kept returning to Abigail Campbell, to the ticking clock. How much time had been lost already? 20 minutes? 30? My satellite phone began ringing from inside the evidence bag Kevin had placed it in. My team. No doubt wondering why I had not arrived at the staging area. Kevin glanced at it, then deliberately set it aside. "Kevin," I shouted through the glass. "That call could be life or death for a kidnapping victim." For a moment, our eyes met through the window. I saw something flicker across his face. Doubt, perhaps. Then his radio crackled. "All units be advised, FBI operation in progress in Sector 7. Kidnapping response, possible hostage situation at the old Hargrove farm. Federal jurisdiction, local assistance requested." It was the call about my operation, being broadcast on the local police band. Kevin froze, listening to the details that confirmed everything I had been telling him. I watched his face, waiting for the moment of realization, the admission that he had made a terrible mistake. Instead, he turned the radio down and continued his methodical search of my vehicle. "Kevin, you just heard the confirmation," I shouted. "This is the operation I have been trying to tell you about." One of the other officers approached him. "Mitchell, that FBI call, is this related?" "She claims it is," Kevin replied, still not looking at me. "But protocol is protocol. We verify identities before releasing suspects." "Suspects?" I repeated incredulously. "I am the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not a suspect." The absurdity of the situation would have been almost comical if a young woman's life were not hanging in the balance. I closed my eyes, trying to center myself. Getting angry at Kevin would not help Abigail Campbell. I needed to find a way out of the situation, and fast. Through the window, I could hear snippets of conversation among the officers. They were questioning Kevin's handling of the situation, becoming increasingly uncomfortable with the idea that they might be detaining the actual FBI director during an active operation. "Mitchell, maybe we should just verify her identity and let her go," one officer suggested. "And if she is an imposter?" Kevin countered. "If she has stolen classified documents? If this is some kind of security breach? You want to take that responsibility?" My satellite phone rang again. This time, Kevin picked it up, looking at the display. "Assistant Director Callahan," he read aloud. My second in command, undoubtedly wondering where I was. "Answer it," I called. "Let me speak to him. He can confirm everything." Kevin hesitated, then set the phone down without answering. The ringing stopped. Inside the patrol car, I shifted uncomfortably, the handcuffs digging into my wrists. Memories from childhood flashed through my mind. Kevin hiding my homework before a big test. Kevin telling my prom date I had a contagious skin condition. Kevin always finding ways to undermine me when it mattered most. But this was different. This was not childish rivalry. This was deliberate sabotage of a federal operation. Through the windshield, I could see more headlights approaching. A larger vehicle, moving fast. Not another patrol car. An SUV similar to mine. Black with government plates. My team had come looking for me. Hope surged within me, only to be crushed as I watched Kevin direct the vehicle to stop at a distance, preventing whoever was inside from approaching. More minutes lost in this ridiculous standoff. The radio crackled again. All units in vicinity of Route 16, be advised. Captain Harris is en route to your location. ETA 3 minutes. Kevin's posture changed subtly at this news. Captain Harris was his superior officer. A 20-year veteran of the force known for his by-the-book approach and intolerance for mistakes. I allowed myself a small smile. Perhaps this farce was about to end. The minutes ticked by with excruciating slowness. I could see the FBI vehicle in the distance, agents inside prevented from approaching by the police perimeter Kevin had established. My satellite phone rang again, and again Kevin ignored it. Then another set of headlights appeared, and a police cruiser pulled up. The door opened, and Captain Thomas Harris stepped out, his expression grim as he surveyed the scene, multiple patrol cars, lights flashing, officers standing awkwardly around my vehicle with its contents spread across the hood, and me handcuffed in the back of Kevin's car. Detective Mitchell, Harris called, his voice carrying in the night air. Report. What the hell is going on here? Kevin straightened, adopting a professional stance. Traffic stop, sir. Driver was doing nearly 90. Claims to be FBI Director Mitchell on an emergency mission. I am verifying her identity and searching for contraband. Harris frowned, approaching Kevin. And the subject is where? Kevin gestured toward the patrol car. Secured in my vehicle, sir. Harris peered through the window at me, and I straightened as much as the handcuffs would allow, meeting his gaze directly. The color drained from his face. Jesus Christ. Captain Harris breathed, staring at me through the window. He turned to Kevin, his expression a mixture of horror and disbelief. Detective, is this who I think it is? Kevin maintained his professional demeanor. Subject claims to be FBI Director Rachel Mitchell. I am in the process of verifying that claim. Harris's eyes widened. He looked back at me, then at Kevin again. Mitchell, open this door right now. Kevin hesitated. Sir, protocol dictates. Open the goddamn door. Harris barked, an edge of panic in his voice. Kevin complied. Unlocking the door. Harris leaned in, his eyes scanning my face. Recognition dawned, followed by something approaching terror. Ma'am, he stuttered, Director of the FBI. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Around us, the other officers froze, realization spreading across their faces like a wave. Captain Harris, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the fury coursing through me. I would appreciate being uncuffed immediately. I am in the middle of a time-sensitive operation involving a kidnapped civilian. Harris spun toward Kevin. Uncuff her? No. Kevin moved mechanically, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. As he leaned into the car with the handcuff key, our eyes met briefly. I saw the moment it all crashed down on him, what he had done, who he had done it to, and what it might mean for his career. The cuffs fell away, and I rubbed my wrists, stepping out of the patrol car with as much dignity as I could muster. Captain Harris immediately snapped to attention and offered a formal salute. Director Mitchell, please accept my deepest apologies for this inexcusable situation, Harris said, his voice still shaking slightly. If there is anything we can do to assist you. I straightened my jacket, regaining my composure. As a matter of fact, there is. Senator Campbell's daughter has been kidnapped. My team has tracked her to an abandoned farm approximately 15 miles from here. Time is critical. I need these roadblocks cleared immediately, and I would appreciate a police escort to the location. Harris nodded vigorously. Of course, Director. Right away. He turned to the assembled officers. "Clear these vehicles. Now. And get a lead car ready for escort." The officers scrambled to comply, avoiding eye contact with me as they rushed back to their patrol cars. Kevin remained rooted to the spot, his face ashen. "Detective Mitchell," Harris snapped. "Collect the director's belongings and return them immediately." Kevin moved woodenly to gather my documents, weapon, and phone from where he had spread them out. As he handed them back to me, I could see the tremble in his hands. "Rachel," he began in a low voice. "Not now," I cut him off, my voice ice cold. "A young woman's life is at stake." I turned to Harris. "Captain, I need to brief my team. We will be ready to move out in 3 minutes." "Yes, ma'am," Harris replied, still visibly shaken. He turned to Kevin. "Detective Mitchell, report back to the station immediately. We will discuss this incident later." Kevin's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Yes, sir." I walked briskly to my vehicle, not sparing Kevin another glance. Inside, I immediately called Assistant Director Callahan. "Where the hell have you been?" he demanded when he picked up. "We have been trying to reach you for 40 minutes. "Local police complication," I replied tersely. "I am en route now with escort." "Status on the target?" "Still at the location according to thermal imaging. But we are picking up increased activity. They may be preparing to move. Tell the tactical team to hold position. I will be there in 10 minutes. I started the engine, watching in the rearview mirror as Kevin slowly made his way back to his patrol car. He stood there for a moment, watching me, the weight of what he had done visible in the slump of his shoulders. Part of me wanted to feel satisfaction at his evident distress. A larger part was too focused on the mission ahead to care about family drama. But the smallest part, the part that remembered us as children, felt a pang of sympathy. Kevin had just committed career suicide, and we both knew it. The police escort assembled, lights flashing, and I pulled out onto Route 16, accelerating quickly. In my rearview mirror, I could see Kevin's patrol car growing smaller, my brother standing beside it, a diminishing figure in the distance. I pushed thoughts of him aside. Abigail Campbell needed me focused and clear-headed. The clock was ticking, and thanks to Kevin, we had precious little time left. As we sped toward the abandoned farm, I calculated the damage done. 40 minutes lost. Operational security potentially compromised by Kevin's radio calls. The element of surprise diminished. Captain Harris led the escort personally, his lights and siren clearing the way ahead. I could only imagine the conversation he would have with Kevin later. Police officers detaining federal agents without cause was bad enough. Detaining the FBI director during a critical operation? That was the kind of mistake careers did not survive. My satellite phone rang again. Callahan with an update. "Director, thermal imaging shows 3 heat signatures with the hostage. 2 at the front of the building, 1 with Abigail in what appears to be a root cellar." "Understood. Maintain position. I will be there shortly to authorize the breach." I ended the call, pressing my foot harder on the accelerator. The farm was just minutes away now. My mind shifted fully into operational mode, pushing aside all thoughts of Kevin and his betrayal. That was a problem for tomorrow. Abigail Campbell was the problem for tonight, and I would not let her down, no matter what personal drama tried to get in the way. The abandoned Hargrove farm materialized out of the darkness, a collection of decrepit buildings surrounded by overgrown fields. From our staging position in a neighboring property, I could see the tactical team already in place, black-clad figures nearly invisible in the night. Captain Harris pulled his vehicle to a stop beside mine. "Director Mitchell, my officers are at your disposal if you need additional support." "Thank you, Captain," I replied, stepping out. "If you could establish a perimeter at the access road, that would be helpful. We do not want anyone coming in or going out once we begin." Harris nodded, clearly eager to make amends for the earlier debacle. "Consider it done." I approached the command vehicle where Assistant Director Callahan waited, his expression a mixture of relief and frustration. "You are a sight for sore eyes," he said. "What happened back there?" "Family issues," I replied tersely. "Brief me on the current situation." If Callahan was curious about my cryptic response, he did not show it. 3 subjects inside, all former military with ties to extremist groups. They have issued demands to Senator Campbell. Vote against the upcoming defense bill or his daughter dies. The deadline is dawn. And Abigail? Alive, confined to what appears to be a root cellar or basement. 1 guard with her. 2 others rotating positions throughout the house. I studied the thermal imaging display, absorbing the layout of the property and the positions of the kidnappers. Weapons? Assault rifles. Handguns. Possibly explosives, though we have not confirmed that. I nodded, formulating a plan. We need to move now. The delay may have compromised our position. If they have been monitoring police frequencies, they heard the chatter about an FBI operation. Callahan frowned. Police chatter? What exactly happened on your way here? Later, I said, unwilling to delve into the Kevin situation. Tactical plan? 2 teams. Alpha approaches from the east, creates a diversion. Beta comes in from the west, directly to the cellar entrance we identified here. He pointed to a spot on the digital map. I studied the plan, considering the risks. With the delay caused by Kevin, the kidnappers might be more alert, more prepared for an assault. Standard procedure would be for me to remain at the command center, directing operations remotely. But nothing about this night had been standard. I am going in with Beta Team, I announced. Callahan stared at me. Director, with all due respect, that is highly irregular. So, is being detained by local police on the way to a hostage rescue, I replied. I need to be there. Abigail Campbell has been through enough tonight. Seeing a female face might help ease her trauma. It was a rationalization, and we both knew it. The truth was simpler, after being handcuffed and humiliated by my own brother. I needed to reassert control. I needed to be part of the action, not just directing it from afar. Callahan knew better than to argue. Yes, ma'am. I will have them prep gear for you. Within 10 minutes, I was outfitted in tactical gear, a Kevlar vest heavy over my suit, earpiece connecting me to the team. It had been years since I had participated directly in a field operation, but the training never really left you. Alpha Team in position, came the voice through my earpiece. Beta Team ready, followed immediately after. I took a deep breath, centering myself. Execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. The night erupted into controlled chaos. Alpha Team set off flashbangs at the front of the farmhouse, creating the diversion we needed. Beta Team, with me in the middle of the formation, moved swiftly toward the cellar entrance. The first kidnapper appeared at the side door, rifle raised, responding to the commotion. Our point man took him down with a silenced shot before he could fire. Tango 1 neutralized, came the calm report. We reached the cellar doors, partially hidden by overgrown weeds. The team leader gestured for silence, then counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. The doors burst open, and we descended into darkness. Night vision casting everything in an eerie green glow. The cellar was larger than expected, dirt floor giving way to concrete as we moved deeper. FBI, called the team leader. Drop your weapons. A shot rang out, pinging off the wall beside us. The team scattered for cover as the second kidnapper fired wildly from behind a stack of old crates. I will kill her, he shouted. Stay back. Through my night vision, I could make out Abigail Campbell tied to a chair behind the gunman, her eyes wide with terror above the duct tape covering her mouth. You are surrounded, I called out, modulating my voice to project calm authority. There is no way out of this building that is not covered by FBI agents. Surrender now and no one else gets hurt. Who is that? The kidnapper demanded. Who is talking? I am FBI Director Rachel Mitchell, I replied. And I am here to bring Abigail home safely. The director, he sounded surprised, then laughed harshly. Well, that makes you a valuable hostage too, does it not? He shifted his position, trying to get a better angle on us. In doing so, he momentarily exposed his shoulder. The shot from our sniper was so quiet, it was almost inaudible. The kidnapper crumpled, his weapon clattering to the floor. Tango 2 down, came the report in my ear. Status of the hostage? I moved forward carefully, approaching Abigail. Ms. Campbell, I am Director Mitchell. You are safe now. We are going to get you out of here. Her eyes, still wide with fear, locked onto mine. I removed the duct tape as gently as possible from her mouth. The third man, she gasped immediately. He went upstairs when the noise started. As if on cue, my earpiece crackled. Tango 3 spotted exiting through the back. In pursuit. Get her out of here, I ordered the team leader, already turning toward the stairs. I am going to assist with the third subject. Director, that is not advisable, he began, but I was already moving. I ascended the cellar stairs quickly, emerging into the kitchen of the farmhouse. Through the windows, I could see flashlight beams cutting through the darkness as agents pursued the fleeing kidnapper. Then movement caught my eye. The third man had not fled after all. He had circled back, using the commotion as cover, and now stood in the doorway, weapon raised. Do not move, he snarled. I froze, my own sidearm halfway drawn from its holster. Slowly put your gun on the floor, he ordered. I complied, carefully setting my weapon down. So you are the director, he said, studying me. Thomas will be disappointed he missed this opportunity. Thomas, I questioned, trying to keep him talking while I assessed options. The man behind all this, he replied with a cold smile. He has big plans. This was just the beginning. Whatever you are planning. It is over now, I said calmly. Your associates are down. The hostage is safe. There is no scenario where you walk away from this. There is always a scenario, he countered, taking a step closer. I have the FBI director at gunpoint. That is quite a bargaining chip. I saw movement behind him, a shadow shifting position outside the window. Help was coming. But I needed to keep him distracted. You mentioned Thomas, I said. I would like to know more about him. The kidnapper smirked. You will be meeting him soon enough. He adjusted his grip on his weapon, and I knew he was preparing to fire. In that split second, I dropped to the floor just as the window behind him shattered. The shot from outside caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. His own weapon discharged, the bullet striking the ceiling as he fell. I lunged for my discarded sidearm, grabbing it and aiming at the fallen kidnapper in one fluid motion. Do not move, I ordered as agents poured through the door. He glared up at me, clutching his wounded shoulder. This is not over. For you, it is, I replied as agents secured him. The farmhouse was quickly filled with FBI personnel, securing the scene and gathering evidence. I stepped outside into the cool night air, suddenly aware of a burning sensation in my left shoulder. Looking down, I saw a tear in my jacket. The kidnapper's wild shot had grazed me after all. Adrenaline had masked the pain until now. A medic approached, noticing my injury. Director, you are hit. Just a graze, I said, though I allowed him to examine the wound. As he cleaned and bandaged my shoulder, I watched Abigail Campbell being escorted to a waiting ambulance, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She would be reunited with her father soon. Despite everything, despite Kevin's interference, despite my injury, the mission had succeeded. Captain Harris approached, hat in hand. Director Mitchell, I cannot express how deeply sorry I am for what happened earlier. I assure you, there will be consequences. I nodded, too tired to discuss it further. We will address it through proper channels, Captain. For now, I appreciate your assistance with the perimeter. Of course. Ma'am. He hesitated, then added, Detective Mitchell has been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Kevin. In the heat of the operation, I had almost forgotten about him. Almost. I understand, I replied neutrally. As dawn broke over the Hargrove farm, news vans began to arrive, attracted by the police activity and rumors of a high-profile rescue. Senator Campbell's car pulled up, and I watched as Abigail ran to her father's arms. A successful mission, despite everything. But as I gave a brief statement to the press, careful to mention the cooperation of local law enforcement without going into the complications, I knew that the hardest part still lay ahead. Somehow, I had to deal with my brother. And the damage he had done, not just to my operation, but to our already fractured relationship. 3 days after the Campbell rescue, I sat in a conference room at FBI headquarters, facing the Oversight Committee. My shoulder ached beneath my blazer, the bandage a constant reminder of how close the mission had come to disaster. Director Mitchell, Senator Hargrove began. Consulting his notes, can you explain the 40-minute delay between your departure from headquarters and your arrival at the staging area? According to the timeline, you should have arrived much earlier. I had anticipated this question. The truth would mean throwing Kevin under the bus publicly, potentially ending his career. Despite everything. That gave me pause. There was an unforeseen complication with local law enforcement, I replied carefully. A miscommunication that has since been addressed. Miscommunication? Pressed Congressman Williams. That seems vague, Director. We are talking about a critical time window in a high-profile kidnapping case. The matter is being handled internally between the FBI and the department in question, I said. I take full responsibility for not allowing enough buffer time in the operational timeline. The committee members exchanged glances, clearly dissatisfied with my answer, but unwilling to push further for now. The rest of the hearing focused on the outcome, Abigail's successful rescue, the 3 kidnappers in custody, and the ongoing investigation into this Thomas figure they had mentioned. Afterward, Assistant Director Callahan caught up with me in the hallway. You protected him, he said without preamble. Your brother. You could have thrown him to the wolves in there. I kept walking, forcing him to keep pace. It is a family matter. It is a professional matter when it interferes with a federal operation, Callahan countered. He held the FBI director at gunpoint, Rachel. That is career suicide. And his career will be handled by his department, I replied. Not by me in front of a congressional committee. Callahan shook his head. You are a better person than I would be in your shoes. I was not so sure about that. My decision had less to do with mercy and more to do with family complications I was not ready to air publicly. Besides, the doctor had ordered me to take a week of medical leave for my shoulder, and I had decided to spend it at my parents' house in Boston. The confrontation with Kevin was coming, but I would handle it on my terms, not in front of Congress. 2 days later, I was sitting in my parents' living room, arm in a sling, trying to explain to them what had happened without devastating them completely. Kevin did what? My mother exclaimed, her hand flying to her mouth in horror. My father sat in stunned silence, his face ashen. He did not recognize me at first, I said, softening the truth slightly. By the time he did, things had escalated. But to hold you at gunpoint? His own sister? Mom shook her head in disbelief. What was he thinking? Dad finally spoke, his voice heavy. He was not thinking. He was reacting to years of competition. Competition that he created in his own mind, I said, more sharply than I intended. I never tried to overshadow him. I just did my job, and excelled at it, Dad added quietly. While Kevin struggled. The doorbell rang, interrupting our painful conversation. Mom went to answer it, returning moments later with a tight expression. It is Kevin, she said. A tense silence fell over the room. I had not expected him to show up here, though perhaps I should have. Where else would he go in a crisis, but back to our parents? Kevin entered the living room, stopping short when he saw me. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, the defeat evident in his posture. "Rachel," he said, his voice rough. "I did not know you would be here." "Medical leave," I replied, gesturing to my bandaged shoulder. His eyes widened. "You were injured? During the operation?" "Yes, after I was finally allowed to get there." The accusation hung in the air between us. Kevin looked away first, sinking into an armchair across from me. "I came to talk to Mom and Dad," he said. "About what happened?" "About what is going to happen." "Which is?" I prompted. Kevin ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "Internal Affairs is investigating. Captain Harris recommended termination, but the union is fighting for suspension instead. Either way, my detective shield is gone. If I stay, it will be back in uniform, probably directing traffic somewhere no one will have to look at me." Despite everything, I felt a twinge of sympathy. Kevin had worked hard for that detective badge, whatever his failings. "I am sorry it came to this," I said, and meant it. Kevin let out a bitter laugh. "Are you? You could end my career with one phone call. One statement to Internal Affairs about what really happened. If I wanted to do that, I would have done it already," I pointed out. "I did not mention you by name to the Oversight Committee today." Surprise flickered across his face. "Why not?" "Because this is not about your career." "Kevin, it never was. This is about you and me and whatever broke between us a long time ago." Our parents sat in uncomfortable silence, witnesses to a confrontation years in the making. "What broke between us?" Kevin repeated slowly. "You want to know what broke, Rachel? Everything came easy to you. Everything. School, college, career. Dad's approval. Mom's pride. All of it. Just handed to you on a silver platter." "Nothing was handed to me," I shot back, anger finally breaking through my professional facade. "I worked for everything I achieved. The difference is, I did not spend all my energy resenting you for your successes." "What successes?" Kevin demanded. "Being a small-town detective while my little sister becomes the youngest FBI director in history? Living in Dad's shadow while you cast an even bigger one?" "That is not fair, Kevin," Dad interjected. "We have always been proud of both of you." "Bullshit," Kevin said bluntly. "You compare us constantly." "Always have. Why can't you be more like Rachel?" Rachel got straight as again. "Rachel this, Rachel that. So that justifies holding a gun to my face?" I demanded. "Jeopardizing a young woman's life? Handcuffing me in front of your colleagues? Was humiliating me worth risking your entire career?" Kevin's face crumpled. "No," he admitted quietly. "It was not. When I pulled you over, I did not know it was you at first. Then when I realized, something just snapped. All those years of resentment came flooding out, and I could not stop myself." "You could have stopped at any point," I said. "When I showed you my credentials. When I explained the situation. When the radio confirmed the operation. You chose not to." "I know," he whispered. "I know." Mom wiped away tears. "What happens now? To both of you?" Kevin and I looked at each other across the living room, years of competition and miscommunication between us. "I do not know," I admitted. "This is not something that gets fixed in one conversation." "I am seeing a therapist," Kevin said suddenly. "Started yesterday. The department required it, but I think I needed it anyway. To figure out why I did what I did. Why I have been so angry all these years. It was a small step, but a significant one for someone as proud as my brother." "That is good," I said cautiously. "It might help." "Rachel," he said, meeting my eyes directly for the first time. "I am sorry. Not just for the other night, but for a lot of things. Years of things." The apology hung in the air between us, inadequate yet necessary. "I appreciate that," I said finally. "But Kevin, you need to understand something. What you did wasn't just about us. It wasn't just sibling rivalry gone too far. You compromised a federal operation. You risked a civilian's life. That goes beyond family drama." "I know," he said, dropping his gaze. "I have to live with that." Dad cleared his throat. "Maybe we all have things to answer for." Your mother and I, perhaps we did make comparisons we should not have. Set expectations that weren't fair. That does not excuse what I did, Kevin said. No, Dad agreed. But family patterns run deep. We all play our parts. The four of us sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of years of unspoken tensions filling the room. So what now? Mom asked again. I looked at my brother, this man I had grown up with, competed with, resented and been resented by. Despite everything, he was still my brother. Now, I said slowly, we start over. Not from the beginning. We can't erase what happened. But from here. From this moment. With honesty instead of competition. With understanding instead of resentment. Kevin nodded, a tentative hope in his eyes. I would like that. It was not forgiveness. Not yet. That would take time. But it was a beginning, a first step toward healing a relationship that had been broken for longer than either of us had been willing to admit. As for the professional consequences, those would play out as they must. Some things could not be undone, no matter how much we might wish otherwise. 6 months after that night, on Route 16, my shoulder had healed completely, leaving only a small scar as a reminder of how close things had come. In the wake of the incident, the FBI had implemented new protocols for agents in emergency transit, including better coordination with local law enforcement to prevent similar misunderstandings in the future. The professional consequences had been substantial but not catastrophic. Kevin had been suspended for 3 months without pay and demoted back to patrol officer. He would never make detective again in his current department, but he had kept his job, partly due to his union's intervention. Partly because I had indeed refrained from making a formal complaint about his conduct. On a personal level, the healing was slower but steady. I had started seeing a therapist myself, unpacking years of family dynamics that had contributed to the toxic competition between Kevin and me. It was uncomfortable work, forcing me to examine not just Kevin's resentment, but my own role in our dysfunctional relationship. Had I, perhaps, enjoyed outshining him? Had I sometimes flaunted my success, knowing it would hurt him? The honest answers weren't always flattering. Kevin and I had begun the delicate work of rebuilding our relationship, starting with a lunch at a neutral restaurant halfway between his apartment and my office. It had been awkward. Conversation stilted. Both of us carefully avoiding mention of that night while simultaneously unable to think of anything else. How's the new beat? I had asked, stirring my coffee. Quiet, he'd replied. Mostly residential. School crossings, parking violations. That's good. Quiet is good. He'd nodded, eyes on his plate. Rachel, You don't have to keep apologizing, I'd interrupted. We've been through that. I know. But I'm still processing everything. The therapist says that's normal. Mine says the same thing. His eyebrows had risen. You're seeing someone too? Professional trauma counseling is standard procedure after incidents like this, I'd said, falling back on bureaucratic language when emotions became too difficult. Then, forcing myself to be more genuine, I'd added, but yes, I'm working through some stuff too. Family stuff. That lunch had been the first of several cautious meetings. Each one became slightly easier. The conversation flowing more naturally as we established new patterns of interaction. We weren't close yet, might never be the way some siblings were, but we were finding a way forward. Today, I was attending a law enforcement conference in Boston where I had been invited to give the keynote address. I knew Kevin would be in the audience. I had sent him the invitation myself. A gesture of professional respect that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. As I stepped up to the podium, I scanned the crowded auditorium. Kevin sat in the middle, in uniform, his posture straight but not tense. Our eyes met briefly, and he gave a small nod of acknowledgement. Thank you all for being here today, I began. The title of my address is Integrated Response: Breaking Down Barriers Between Federal and Local Law Enforcement. It's a topic that has personal significance for me, as some of you may know. There was a ripple of knowing laughter. The incident with Kevin had never made the national news. Both our departments had worked to keep it quiet, but within law enforcement circles, rumors had circulated. I had decided to acknowledge it obliquely rather than pretend it never happened. In our line of work, we often talk about jurisdictional boundaries as if they're set in stone. Federal, state, local, we divide ourselves into neat categories. But criminals don't respect those boundaries, and sometimes neither should we. For the next 40 minutes, I spoke about the importance of cooperation, of communication, of mutual respect between different branches of law enforcement. I shared stories of successful joint operations, of lives saved when agencies work together seamlessly. The barriers we create, sometimes out of pride, sometimes out of territoriality, sometimes out of simple misunderstanding, can have real consequences, I continued. A delay of minutes can mean the difference between success and failure, between life and death. From my position at the podium, I could see Kevin listening intently, his expression thoughtful rather than defensive. Progress, small but meaningful. But breaking down these barriers isn't just about operational efficiency, I said, nearing the conclusion of my speech. It's about recognizing that beneath the different badges, the different uniforms, we share the same fundamental mission: to protect and serve. To do that effectively, we need to start seeing each other not as competitors or obstacles, but as allies. As I finished my address to enthusiastic applause, I felt a sense of closure that had been missing in the months since the incident. Not an ending. Kevin and I still had plenty of work to do, but a milestone in our journey toward a healthier relationship. After the conference, Kevin approached me in the lobby, maintaining a professional distance, but with warmth in his eyes that had been absent for years. "Good speech," he said. "Though you left out the part where siblings with badges should avoid pulling each other over." The joke, the first either of us had made about that night, caught me by surprise, and I found myself laughing. I thought that went without saying. "How long are you in town?" he asked. "Just until tomorrow. I have meetings back in DC the day after." He nodded. "Mom and Dad are hoping you'll come for dinner tonight. If you're free." "I'd like that," I said, meaning it. Family dinner was still somewhat tense, but markedly improved from that disastrous night when I'd announced my appointment as director. Dad told fishing stories, Mom fussed over the food, Kevin talked about his new patrol route, and I shared sanitized versions of recent FBI operations. It wasn't perfect, but it was family, messy, complicated, frustrating, but ultimately irreplaceable. Later, as Kevin walked me to my car, he paused, hands in his pockets. "I've been thinking about transferring," he said abruptly. "Fresh start, new department where people don't know what happened. Is that what you want?" I asked. He shrugged. "Sometimes. Other times I think running away doesn't solve anything. The problems would just follow me." "For what it's worth, I think you're right about that last part," I said. "The location isn't the issue." "Yeah." He kicked at a pebble on the driveway. "Anyway, I'm still figuring it out. But I wanted you to know." "I appreciate that," I said. Then, after a moment's hesitation, I added, "Whatever you decide, I'm in your corner, Kevin." Despite everything, he looked up, surprise evident in his expression. "Thanks, Rach. That means a lot." As I drove back to my hotel, I reflected on how far we'd come in 6 months and how far we still had to go. The professional consequences of that night had been significant for both of us. Kevin's career had taken a hit he might never fully recover from, and I had faced difficult questions from the Oversight Committee about my handling of the situation. But the personal growth had been more important. I had been forced to examine my own role in our dysfunctional dynamic, to acknowledge that success meant little without meaningful personal connections. Kevin had begun the difficult work of addressing his insecurities and resentments rather than projecting them onto me. We would never be the kind of siblings who called each other daily or went on vacations together. Too much history stood between us for that kind of easy closeness. But we were finding a way to be family on new terms, terms based on mutual respect rather than competition, on understanding rather than assumption. And perhaps that was enough. Perhaps that was even better than what we had before. What do you think? Has sibling rivalry ever affected your family relationships? Have you ever been misunderstood by someone close to you? Drop a comment below and share your experience. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about family, forgiveness, and finding your way through difficult relationships. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes the longest journeys start with acknowledging where you really are.